Yontah pravesha mama vachamimam prashuttam sanjeevayatyakila shaktidhara swadhamna anyamscha hastacharana shravanat vagadim pranannamo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. We are going to explore a new island of the heart, and so that we can keep topics moving forward. So today we're going to cover this island called Dasya Prema or Dasya Priti. Dasya means servitorship or service, a life of service. So it's a very interesting topic, because in this island of service, we come to understand that it is the constitutional nature. What does it mean, this dasya? Dasya bhav, or the emotion of service. So before we begin, we can understand through observation and experience that everyone in this world are deeply connected, and every aspect of their life is intertwined with this principle of service, or we call it servitorship. Because if we look at our lives, every action that we take, it is to serve someone. No matter who we are, no matter where we are, what position we have in society, what gender we may be, everyone is engaged in some sort of seva, some sort of service, regardless of who they are. Because, as the yoga text explain, in Sanskrit, jivera, and actually this is a verse in Bengali, one of the sages write, where they say, Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas, which means that every living entity, by constitutional nature, they're servants of God and the servants of the divine. So what that means is, when you expand on this principle of service being the inherent natural constitution of all living beings, then we divide it into two categories. So there's two categories of service. Of course, this topic we'll be spending quite a lot of time, because it's such a beautiful topic. So when we define service, we are defining it in two categories. One, in Sanskrit, is called sambhrama priti, or service with respect, or service with love. Right? Claire, nice to see you all the way from Miami. Namaste. So I met Claire at a kirtan event, and she was traveling through, and now here she is with us. Thank you for joining us. So the service is divided into two. One is in Sanskrit called sambhrama priti, or respectful service. And the second one is called gaurava priti, gaurava, which means you take the role of protecting someone or the divine. In this case, for example, if you look at people who are really, really going out there and fighting for the environment, they feel as though their energy is filled with this emotion that it is our duty, it is my seva to protect Mother Earth, the oceans, the mountains, and our environment. So that'll fall under the category of Gaurava Priti, when they have this role of being a protector. Service as being the protector. And service with respect is called Sambhrama Priti. So we'll be going in and out of these two principles of seva, of service. So I want to first cover this Sambhrama Priti, service with respect, and how beautiful it is. And there are many, many examples of sages and personalities described in our yoga texts of people who embody this Sambhrama Priti, respectful service. And one of them is Hanumanji. Everyone here knows Hanumanji? Yes, everyone knows him. He's an incredible, incredible personality that is engaged in service 24 hours. Sometimes we are wondering, how is it possible that you can serve someone 24 hours? Because this love, intensity of love that is expressed and exchanged through service is so deep. It is so deep that it keeps you awake and enlivened, enthused, and you feel nourished with the engagement of service. So this is one of the examples of this, as we see in the case of Hanumanji. He recognizes Ramachandra, Lord Ramachandra, and Lord Ram recognizes the beautiful necklace that he is wearing. And he automatically finds the object of his love. And when Hanumanji finds the object of his love, what do? You follow, head over heels to serve them. And you can even notice this even in your relationships. Say, for example, when you are falling in love, what do we not do to serve that person, to accommodate that person, at least at the initial stages? Both parties are so involved in seeing how to serve one another. So in the case of Hanumanji, it wasn't that kind of material love that we see in this world, but he found the object of his love, of his heart. And he dedicated his whole life to the service of Lord Ramachandra. And I give you one small story of Hanuman so that you'll understand what is his level of commitment and respect in this island that we're exploring of service. So as you know, some of you may know, that when Hanumanji, he takes off from Lanka and comes back to Ayodhya after this great epic battle where Ravana was vanquished and all the monkeys that went to Lanka to help Lord Ram take back his wife from captivity of Ravana. Then all the monkeys and everybody, they all came back to the place called Ayodhya, which was the kingdom of Lord Ram. And the first thing that Lord Ram made sure that Hanuman took care of was to make sure that every single monkey, every single soldier who helped him, everyone that was there, they should be properly served with prasadam. Just like when someone comes to your house, what do? We give them water, we give them a place to sit, and we try to feed them. For those of you who haven't experienced this in India, you'll notice it's a very big culture. Whenever you go to their house, they will feed you. And you say no, they will feed you, keep feeding you. And your plate, by the time you finish eating, when your plate is still full and you can't eat anymore, then they finally realize, okay, now our service is complete. Because they want to make sure that your life is filled with abundance. Their consciousness is of abundance. There's no scarcity mentality. So Hanumanji was given the responsibility to make sure that everybody was fed. So imagine millions and millions of monkeys, and they're all sitting in line, and Hanumanji is making sure that everyone had eaten. And everyone was satisfied. Then Lord Ram asked Hanumanji, Hanumanji, have you eaten? And Hanumanji said, my dear Lord, I've been busy serving. When do I have time to eat? Then Lord Ram said, Hanumanji, please make a plate and let us eat together. And Hanumanji said, how can I eat with you, my Lord? You're my master. You're the Lord of my heart. You're the object of my love. You're the object of my worship. How can I sit and eat with you? And Ram said, no, no, no. I want to spend time with you. I want to eat with you. So Hanumanji sits down to eat with Lord Ram. And Lord Ram wants Hanuman to start eating. And Hanuman is like, no, no, no. How can I eat with you, my Lord? It is my duty to serve you. Then Lord Ram said, please. So he took his finger. They were eating in banana leaves. It's a very common practice in India as well. So he drew a line in the middle of the banana leaf. And he says, okay, you eat on that side and I'll eat on this side. So at least we can say we can maintain a proper etiquette that you ate on your own plate and I ate on my plate. But in all reality, they were eating off a banana leaf. And has anyone ever seen a banana leaf? Raise your hand if you have. You will notice in the middle of the banana leaf, there is a big line. There is a dip and there is a line. Has anyone noticed that? And yes, and that line is drawn by Lord Ram. So one side of the banana leaf, Hanuman eats, and the other side, Lord Ram sits down and eats. So this story from the Ramayana is teaching us three principles. One is that someone who is in the proper attitude of service, that means that they think of everyone else before them. They're not the first one to eat. In fact, they are the last ones to eat. Why? Because they want to make sure that everyone is served and everyone is satisfied and content. And then they eat. This is the example that Lord Hanumanji is showing, is the highest level of service attitude. This island of the heart of Seva, Hanumanji is the personification. He is the epitome of what is the perfect and ideal service attitude. He is the last one to eat, make sure everyone eats. And then what happens? Because Hanumanji is seeing Lord Ram in the heart of every single monkey. Because what is the consciousness of Hanuman? Consciousness of Hanumanji is he's seeing the object of his love everywhere. And Lord Ramachandra is the personification of the divine. So therefore, You see the consciousness of Hanuman. How can I eat before the Lord of my heart? And so therefore, I'm sorry, people messaging on this. Therefore, we see that Hanuman's consciousness in just this one example. And what does Ram do? Ram acknowledges the divine consciousness that Hanumanji is serving all the monkeys with. And he cannot hold himself. And he wants to come and spend time with Hanumanji because the intensity of Hanuman's love is such. When you love someone so intensely, what do? You want to be close to them. So this is a small story just to illustrate this point of service. Now, how does this service work on a, say, universal scale, on a universal level? We will notice that someone with this divine spiritual consciousness of Seva, he will notice that everything in this world is an expansion and creation and a manifestation of the divine. So much so that his respect and dealings with everything and everyone will be filled with the deepest gratitude in his heart. Only when we have this deepest gratitude within our heart, with the deepest and the most sincere humility, then we will be able to see the divine in everything, and every action will be of service. Essentially, if we understand, the divine is continuously serving, because that is the nature that we have, and we are an expansion of the divine. We are part and parcel of the divine. So we are qualitatively same, just quantitatively different. So therefore, we have the same nature to always serve. If we look at the sun and the moon, what is their business? They are serving. Whether we like it or not, does not matter where you are on the planet. The sun is not discriminating that I will not shine in the house of Claire, and I'll only shine in the house of Narayani Devi. Because Claire has not offered me any bananas for her offering. The sun does not discriminate. So the divine, when it serves us, it does not discriminate between any living beings or non-living beings, equally serving each and every living entity. The sun, moon, if we look at the mountains, we see the mountains as an object for us to go and have fun and enjoy. We see how the mountain is continuously serving us. Our drinking water supplies, as the ices, as the snow melts from the peaks of the mountains, and this beautiful water that we get that has been supercharged by the sun and the moon and all the minerals that the mountains provide, that's what keeps us going. In India, when we went on our last yatra, pilgrimage to different holy places, we went to a place called Govardhan Hill, which is in Vrindavan. So the divine took the form of a hill to serve the village of Vrindavan. Imagine this. Such a beautiful, beautiful expansion when the divine wants to serve. It serves us from every possible way to enhance and give us a higher quality of experience in life. So this mountain Giriraj mountain. It is still there, but it is shrinking every year. It's becoming smaller and smaller as the Kali Yuga progresses. You can go to the mountain, you can go see. This mountain provided shelter, provided fruits, roots, herbs, grass for the cows, flowers for the garlands, sandalwood, you name it, everything you could ask for to live and sustain a community. It was all provided by this Giriraj mountain. And this Giriraj mountain is a divine manifestation. So we see that our Creator God, the divine, is always trying to see how to serve those that are serving. And so therefore, this principle of servitorship, of Seva, it is so important in our day-to-day lives. If every day we make an active decision to see how we can serve at least one person in this world, because we are going to serve no matter what. We cannot sit at home and not serve. It is explained that our nature is such, even if we lock ourselves in, we'll end up serving someone. And the likelihood of who you're going to be serving is your mind and your senses. So your mind will become your master and will tell you to do this and do that, watch Netflix and cook this and drink this, and you will simply follow the orders and dictation of the mind. And therefore, the yoga texts are explaining that why not explore this transcendental exchange that takes between the individual soul, which is us, and the supreme soul, or the Paramatma, which is the divine. Why not explore how that transcendental exchange works? And you'll be surprised to know that in the yoga text it is explained that when the individual soul connects with the supreme soul, or the Atma connects with the Paramatma, in this relationship of service, sometimes people say this is how you become one. But what we say is that you don't become one, you still maintain your identity, but the experience of what is transcendental loving exchange, it is the highest pleasure that there is the highest state of spiritual ecstasy that there is. And in Sanskrit, this is called prema bhakti. One of the sages, Satyavrata Muni, he writes very beautifully, Tatha prema bhaktim swakame prayacha. He says, I aspire to participate in that transcendental loving service, transcendental loving devotional service. And in that exchange, master and servant, they almost become, you don't know who's the master and who the servant is. In this Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the Puranas, there is a very beautiful verse where it explains Aham Bhakta Paradhina in Sanskrit. I don't like to give you too many Sanskrit because I don't want to confuse you, but very beautifully explains. The divine is talking in the form of Krishna, is saying that I am subservient to those who serve me. How is that possible? That the divine becomes subservient to those that serve him. So this is what is the yoga text are explaining, that once we connect with the true essence of the of this dasya ras, or the mellow of service, devotional service, then there is no end to this unlimited, transcendental, loving exchange. So we'll keep that short. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, can you give us some clues as to, knowing whether we're serving our mind or serving Krishna in our heart? Just can you clarify maybe some more clues so that we're very clear about, what is the difference between serving the mind and the heart with Krishna?
When we serve the mind, you will notice that it's never satisfied. One of the symptoms of serving the mind is that it is never satisfied. It wants more and more and more and more. Mind is not someone that you can satisfy very easily. And that is why we have the ever-expanding greed in this world that just continuously wants to explore and more avenues and explorations. This planet is not enough for their sense enjoyment. So now we're exploring other planets, how we can exploit and explore for our sense pleasures. So the indicator is that, number one, it is never satisfied, ever expanding, and there is no end to it. So that is how we know that we are serving our mind. And if we analyze ourselves, we will be preview to the fact of the direction and the trajectory that our life is going. Now, if you're serving Krishna in the heart, is that you will notice Krishna now here, for many of us, is the embodiment of transcendental, pure, unconditional, eternal spiritual love. That's how the yoga text defines him. People have their own definitions, but this is who he is the personification. And now, when you are engaged in serving on that transcendental divine platform, then you walk around with being content with whatever you have and whoever you have in your environment, and everything that happens to you in this world. It is seen as an offering to the divine, that Krishna is directly engaging with you. That includes the calamities that we consider are too rough and too difficult. They're all presented to us, and we embrace them with loving embrace and with joy. Because difficulties and calamities, they are only a perspective that we have about them. They're not the reality. They are your limited sensory subjective reality. They are not an objective reality, nor are they an absolute reality. So when we are able to see everything that's happening in our life as a divine arrangement, all our sufferings, and we are able to see the divine, like Hanumanji is seeing Lord Ram everywhere. So he is rendering service to everyone. But in our world, you will notice our consciousness is such I pick and choose who I want to serve and how I want to serve. I set my conditions. So what we have is conditional seva. Service with condition. If you do this for me, then I will bring you the gulab jamuns, the sweet balls. If you don't do this for me, then I will not bring. If you do this, I will do this. So this is called conditional seva. And that equation is coming from the mind. So mind is interfering in your loving exchange with Krishna. So therefore, we have to see how to lovingly, unconditionally engage with Krishna. And once we lovingly engage with the divine, unconditionally, we are not in a position to blame anyone because we don't know what the truth is. But the fact of the reality is in our lives, because we're not able to see the truth, we are not only seeing our subjective truth, but we're seeing the subjective truth with the darkest lens of the subjective truth, which is anger, resentment, and other, envy and jealousy. Those are very dark lenses to wear. And so therefore, we're not able to see things objectively, even from our subjective perspective. So therefore, we have to analyze ourselves. What I'm doing, is it making me satisfied where I don't have hankerings? Am I joyful in my life? Am I happy? Am I content? We're not talking about a mental contentment. You will feel a feeling of joy inside. You'll walk around as though your feet don't even touch the ground. You'll be chanting and dancing and singing. Because these are the symptoms of being engaged in that level of consciousness. This is not poetic. Brahma, the creator, he explains, Katha ganam natyam gamanamapi vamsi priya sakhi. Very beautifully he explains, when we're engaging in that loving relationship of transcendental service, then every word becomes poetic and every step becomes a dance. So what are we doing? We're just singing and dancing. We don't have to go to a concert to have that emotion of feeling such freedom and such love. So that is something each and every one of us can gauge for ourselves. Are we truly operating from our spiritual consciousness in our loving relationship to the divine, or are we operating from our mind? No one can tell you, only you can tell you. All I can suggest is, it is always good to take a stock of how we feel, where we are at, what is our level of consciousness, what is the quality of our loving relationships. Is there love? Is it a relationship of material exchange? Because more it is connected to matter and material relationships, a heart will feel more and more empty inside. You can be in a rock concert with thousands and thousands of people chanting and dancing and still feel empty inside. Because that true nature of you has not been connected to the right source. And that also you can also determine that through your own analysis.